The encounter between Muslims and Vikings stands as one of the most extraordinary chapters in early medieval global history. From the 8th to the 11th century, Norse seafarers, famous for their fearless raids, bold explorations, and vast commercial routes, found themselves face to face with the Islamic world. These meetings were not random. They happened in places like Al-Andalus, North Africa, Sicily, the Eastern Mediterranean, and most importantly along the Volga trade routes leading toward the mighty Abbasid Caliphate. These encounters shaped both civilizations in ways far richer than simple tales of battle or conquest. The relationship between Muslims and Vikings was not limited to warfare. It included diplomacy, trade, cultural exchange, and even religious influence. While most people think of Vikings only as raiders in Western Europe, the contact between Norse groups and the Muslim world was actually more extensive and transformative. The Islamic world represented one of the most advanced civilizations of its time, filled with flourishing cities, universities, libraries, stable economies, and global trade networks. Naturally, Vikings were attracted not only to its wealth, but also to its knowledge, political structures, and spiritual depth. Over the centuries, Vikings encountered Muslims in many regions and contexts. Some Norsemen fought Muslims, others traded with them, and some even lived peacefully within Muslim lands for long periods. These interactions created fascinating moments where Vikings adopted Islamic customs, traded with Muslim merchants, and occasionally embraced Islam itself. Although conversions were not extremely common, they did happen, especially among traders who spent years traveling through Muslim territories. These conversions helped strengthen trade partnerships, social ties, and diplomatic relationships across continents. The Vikings first engaged Muslims during their raids on Al-Andalus, Islamic Spain. One of the most dramatic encounters occurred in 844 CE, when a large Viking fleet sailed into Seville, which was under the Umayyad Emirate of Cordoba at the time. Muslim chroniclers described the invaders as al-Majus, meaning fire worshippers or pagan outsiders. After fierce fighting, the Muslim forces defeated the Vikings, capturing many of them. Interestingly, this violent beginning eventually led to peaceful cooperation, as both sides soon realized there were economic benefits to mutual trade. The Andalusian Muslims recognized the commercial opportunities in engaging with Norse traders, and the Vikings themselves were impressed by the advanced architecture, governance, and wealth of Islamic Spain. Soon, peaceful trade between the regions expanded rapidly. One of the most powerful pieces of evidence of this trade is the discovery of over 100,000 Islamic silver dirhams across Scandinavia, especially in Sweden. These coins demonstrate that economic ties between Muslims and Vikings were far more significant than military battles, revealing a long-lasting and profitable exchange. The Mediterranean also served as an important meeting point between the two civilizations. Vikings raided parts of North Africa and later established settlements in Sicily and southern Italy, areas with strong Muslim influence. Instead of constant conflict, these encounters often resulted in cultural exchange. The Vikings gained access to textiles, weapons, spices, and scientific knowledge from Muslim lands. In return, they introduced their own trade goods and maritime expertise. This ongoing interaction reshaped Viking culture, giving them access to luxury goods and advanced technologies. However, the most influential encounters between Muslims and Vikings occurred along the Volga trade routes. Norse traders, known as the Rus, settled in areas of modern Russia and Ukraine. They traveled down powerful river systems toward the Caspian Sea to reach the vast and wealthy Abbasid Caliphate. At its height between 750 and 1258 CE, the Abbasid Empire was the richest and most intellectually advanced civilization in the world. Cities like Baghdad, Samarra, and Basra stood as centers of scholarship, commerce, philosophy, and science that deeply impressed the Vikings. Many Norse traders who reached Abbasid territories stayed temporarily or even permanently, working as merchants, intermediaries, or mercenaries. The Abbasid dinar and dirham became prized currencies among Vikings because of their purity and consistent value. The steady flow of Islamic silver helped shape the Viking economy, fueling the growth of early Scandinavian towns. The respect and admiration Vikings held for the Abbasid Caliphate was evident in their willingness to travel great distances across harsh terrains simply to access its trade routes and marketplaces. The most detailed account of Muslim-Viking interactions comes from the 10th century traveler Ahmad ibn Fadlan. As an envoy of the Abbasid Caliph, he encountered the Rus Vikings along the Volga in 922 CE. Ibn Fadlan documented their appearance, customs, and religious rituals with incredible detail. He described them as tall, physically strong, and heavily tattooed from fingers to neck. His famous description of a Viking funeral involving the sacrifice of a slave girl offers one of the most vivid ethnographic records from the medieval world. Although Ibn Fadlan criticized some aspects of their pagan rituals and hygiene practices, he also admired their honesty in business and the strong bonds they shared among themselves. His writings reveal that the Vikings were neither simple barbarians nor mere raiders. They were skilled traders deeply connected to the Muslim world. Many of them lived for long periods near Islamic communities and learned from their customs, technologies, and legal practices. His observations help preserve the earliest written description of Viking life from an outsider's perspective. There is clear evidence that some Vikings converted to Islam. This occurred mostly among Norse traders who frequently traveled through Muslim lands or settled in Muslim-controlled trading posts. Conversion made trade easier, allowed for legal protections, and enabled marriage into local communities. Archaeologists have discovered Islamic coins in Scandinavia that were turned into jewelry or pendants, some engraved with the Shahada, "There is no God but Allah." These inscriptions suggest that some Vikings found spiritual meaning in Islamic monotheism during a period when Scandinavia itself was transitioning away from pagan beliefs. Historical records also mention Norse individuals with Arabic or Islamic-inspired names, showing deeper cultural influence. There are mentions of figures like Yusuf the Rus, indicating a Viking who adopted a Muslim name. Jewish traveler Ibrahim ibn Yaqub recorded how Norse communities adopted several customs and interacted peacefully with Muslim traders. Some Viking-descended rulers who settled in the Volga-Bulgar region are believed to have converted to Islam and maintained their Islamic identity for generations, influencing the cultural evolution of their communities. The Islamic world's technological and intellectual superiority fascinated Viking travelers. They encountered advanced systems of governance, well-organized markets, refined architecture, and Islamic law, which emphasized justice and fairness. The unity and simplicity of Islamic monotheism also impressed some Norse visitors. As Christianity was already spreading through Scandinavia at the time, the idea of one God was no longer unfamiliar, making the transition to Islam more realistic for those drawn to its teachings. Exposure to Muslim scholars, merchants, and diplomats allowed Vikings to learn about Islamic beliefs firsthand. Cultural influence from the Islamic world can be seen in Viking art, clothing, and craftsmanship. Archaeologists have found Viking textile patterns inspired by Islamic geometric art, along with silk fragments from Baghdad and Central Asia inside Viking graves. Some Viking swords contain imitation Arabic inscriptions, indicating that Muslim craftsmanship was associated with prestige. The spread of Muslim advances in astronomy and navigation may have indirectly improved Viking seafaring skills. Even Ibn Fadlan noted that some Rus adopted Muslim-like cleanliness habits, such as washing before rituals, early signs of cultural assimilation. Several Viking groups also lived within or near Muslim territories for extended periods. Norse warbands raided along the Caspian Sea, but soon recognized the benefits of peaceful interaction. Over time, some settled among Muslim communities, forming mixed societies. While the famous Varangian Guard is associated with Byzantine service, evidence also suggests that Norse mercenaries served Muslim rulers in the Caucasus and Central Asia. These Norsemen integrated into local cultures, married into Muslim families, and contributed to the multicultural environment of the medieval Islamic world. These encounters had deep and lasting effects on Viking societies. The massive influx of Islamic silver transformed Scandinavian trade and helped establish important Viking towns such as Birka and Hedeby. Wealth acquired through trade with Muslim merchants strengthened Viking political structures and encouraged long-distance exploration. But more importantly, the Vikings carried home new knowledge, artistic ideas, technologies, and even religious concepts. Their exposure to the Islamic world expanded their worldview far beyond the northern seas and connected them to a much larger global civilization. The fact that some Vikings converted to Islam challenges the common stereotype of Vikings as purely pagan raiders. Instead, it reveals them as open-minded travelers willing to learn from other cultures. Their ability to interact respectfully with Muslim traders demonstrates a surprising degree of cultural flexibility. These exchanges made the Vikings important intermediaries between Northern Europe and the Islamic world. Through them, ideas, goods, and technologies moved across vast distances, shaping the medieval period in ways often overlooked by modern historians. In the end, the interactions between Muslims and Vikings represent a remarkable blend of conflict, curiosity, respect, and transformation. Muslim knowledge, artistry, and economic strength played a crucial role in shaping Viking society, while Norse courage and exploration skills connected northern lands to the Islamic world. This relationship contributed to the development of global trade networks and influenced both civilizations in meaningful ways. The story of Muslim Viking encounters proves that history is rarely divided into simple categories. Instead, it is built through the rich exchange of cultures that shaped our world.